Welcome to the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. My name is Paul Deligro, and my guest today is the resilient powerhouse, Ari Medrano. Ari, how are you today?
I'm fantabulous. Thank you for asking. How you doing? How you be?
I'm doing great. We haven't seen each other for a while, so welcome. Good to reconnect with you.
Gracias. Likewise.
Yeah. So I guess the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, I know that you've had some obstacles in your life, right? From health issues, and that's kind of, the common theme in a lot of people's lives, right? So really wanted to kind of dive into the obstacles that you've faced from a health perspective and life in general, and then how that has shaped your career today, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. It makes sense. It's actually the storyline throughout my life. So yeah, perfect. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's have at it. Because then I'll share some of the things that I'm going through too. Because I think we had similar backgrounds growing up. You're Hispanic, I'm Italian, but we weren't in a rich family growing up, so we certainly had our challenges. But dive into what happened, your health issues, how that shaped you. Let's just get rolling on this.
Yeah, absolutely. From the out the gate with me. So yes, I am Mexicana, I'm Latina. I actually came out here as an immigrant. And so I was 1 year old and we were undocumented at the time. I had no idea. What really began to shape me was what we went through during that time. And so the messages that I received from my family, from my parents, and how resilient they were, right, to getting through and then becoming into who we are today. And I will tell you, there was a very poignant moment in my life. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. We were not documented at that time yet. So there was still fear, right, of immigration coming, things like that.
Sure.
My parents were very big on making sure that we were in spaces and places where we were most likely not to be, undiscovered or anything like that. So I went to private school all my life, that kind of thing. So I remember there was a knock on the door. I was 6 years old. A woman comes through, my mother's friend, a neighbor. She brought some food over. Again, we were very, very humble beginnings. At that point, we were only 3 children, my mother and my father. And she says, I thought the children might be hungry. So she brought over some food. Wonderful. And then she says to my mother, I know you're struggling. The government here gives money. And my mother was like, the government gives money? What do you mean? And she says, well, there's a system here where they give money. All you have to do is go and, report what you need. And she went through her little steps. And my mother I just remember looking out. I was under a little table at the time, looking at my mother. And she was so confused. And she said, hold on a moment. We did not come to this country to receive. We came to this country to give. We will not be taking.
Wow.
That was so powerful. Yeah. I had no idea then how powerful it has become in our lives. Like now I know today when I look at all of the careers that my brothers and sisters and I have chosen, and there's 5 of us, every single one of us chose a career to be of service. We always come from a place of how can we serve? My brother has served 26 plus years in the military.
Nice.
As a senior master chief in the Navy, special ops Raven. Both of my sisters are, teachers. They have tenure. They love the communities that they are in. I have been a service provider within the community for, unchampioned communities all of my life, quite frankly, in the nonprofit and the corporate world. And so that string of we came here to give was never lost. It was actually amplified in so many ways. So that was the beginning, right? That was the beginning of resilience, and we got this, right? Si se puede. And then that turned into many other things medically for me. So to your point, yes, knowing that I had gone through a lot of challenges, those challenges started out with heart disease, right? As a child, we didn't know I had heart disease. We know I had issues, but it did not actually truly manifest itself in my body until my early 20s. And in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with heart disease. I was given 30 days to live.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
30 days to live at 28 years old. Time and time again, the insurance told me I couldn't see a cardiologist, didn't need to see a cardiologist. I was just a stressed woman. Okay, well, ended up in the
Wow.
hospital, emergency room, and I had a 21% heart function by the time I actually got treated. My son was born at 4 pounds. So that was the beginning of many multiple tumors and diseases that I ended up having, quite frankly. The very last one, which is the one that most people are really tuned into, right, is from wheelchair to dance floor in 21 days. I had
Wow.
a tumor,
That
a
sounds like
brain tumor.
that sounds like it could be a name of a book.
Ha ha ha. Listen, my little, you're already in my head. I'm currently writing that book right
Ah, see, I
now.
didn't
Yes.
know that. See that? You didn't even have to tee it up for me to say that. I just said it naturally.
And that means to me that the title works. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the
No,
feedback.
I love the title. It's a great title. And
Awesome.
I love stories. I've had other people on the show that have a story like yours, and it just so I think people are always passionate and love hearing stories that end successfully,
Yeah. And I will
right?
tell you, a lot of the stories I have may not have, when you look at the just for face value, you go, that sucked.
Yeah.
Wow, that didn't end so nicely. The divorce or the abuse or all of those things, and those were not good things. However, when you look at extracting the goodness in anything and everything, even that ugly thing, you will find that strong resilience. You will find gratitude because it always could have gone even differently, right? And you made it through. And so now we have facts in our lives that show us that we can do damn hard things. And that translates into business, right?
Yeah,
So if I can
exactly.
do this thing, I can do that thing. And if I can do that thing, I can do this thing. I can do all things, damn it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Period.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So, well, I got to get back to the heart disease thing. What happened there? I mean, you had a 21% heart function. How did you overcome that one medically?
I had someone reach out to me. This was the beginning of my manifestation journey, right? So I had someone, and I didn't know it until now I know because I can look back and go, where was the thread? So I had a friend that reached out to me. At that point, I was a director of a outpatient drug treatment program. And we were also in the same field. He found out I wasn't attending meetings. He found out what had happened to me. He called me at home and he said, hi, Ari, I just heard all that has happened to you. Can I share with you what I do in my own life? Now, mind you, this was at the height of HIV and AIDS. He, at that point, was living, it's still actually living, as an HIV positive man. And he only had 7 T cell counts at that moment, which is extraordinary. Like, by all accounts, he should be unalived right now.
Yeah.
And he said to me, can I share with you what I do? Because I really want you to do this. And it's going to sound woo woo and it's going to sound weird, but I promise you, stick with me on this and you will see different results in your life. And at that point, I'm just like, just keep talking. I'm being unalived
Yeah.
as you speak. So tell me. And he says, I want you to speak to your heart. And I said, excuse me. And he says, I want you to not just speak to your heart and to your body, but I want you to command it. Command it to heal. Whatever the issue is that the doctors are telling you, speak healing over that. Visualize the healing. Visualize your excitement on the other end. Visualize you walking and being out of that bed. Because at this point, I was bedbound. Again, 21%. I can barely do anything. And so that started a new path for me of taking control of my life and not just listening to a diagnosis, but understanding that I have access to the prognosis of my life. That changed my life completely. So, although it took me much longer with my heart disease to get to a better side of health, I did get there. And so, there were a lot of medicine things that I did for sure. I tried all the medications. I fell out all the time. Every emergency room knew me in the vicinity. Um, I had many heart ablations. I flatlined. I mean, it was a really rough and
Wow.
tough
Oh,
journey. Yeah, 5 years
yeah.
of that. And then, but I never stopped the manifestation. I never stopped speaking to my body. Those things continued. 5 years later, out of nowhere, unbeknownst to the doctors, I'm healed. I
Wow.
stopped taking medication. They had the best doctor fly out from Colorado, from Chicago to come and work on me. And he said, there is no fixing you. Where your issues are literally sitting on your diaphragm. And if I get any closer, you may be unalive, which is what happened the second time that you did this. This is our third time.
Right.
There is no changing the situation. You will be on medication for the rest of your life. Well, I sit before you at 53 with zero medication and a completely healed, full functioning heart.
That's encouraging. That's so encouraging because, you know, I understand, kind of like you, I understand that, medicine is sometimes necessary, but I think we over medicate in this country. That I don't think I know. I mean, I think the
Correct.
statistic is we have 5% of the world's population and we consume 50% of the pharmaceutical drugs in the world. So what does that tell you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, so that's amazing to me, first off. But secondly, now you had a brain tumor, correct? Later on. Tell
Yes,
us about that.
correct. Yeah, 5 years ago, I've had multiple tumors. I'd say I'm a mosaic masterpiece under here. I think that there is a true target to take me out. However, I keep coming back every time they find
No,
something.
Ari, I got news for you. No one's taking you out. Not going to happen.
Not gonna listen. I go on planes and I'm like, trust me, and it's not going down. If God wanted to take me, I've been gone a long time ago. We are all safe here. Let's go.
100%. Let's go.
So once again, the same with the brain tumor. So they found out I had a brain tumor, which by the way, they say, for women, we have extra estrogen. And so we have like these little, benign tumors running around in our brain. However, the issue was with the one that they found, it was a secondary finding. I fell off a ladder and I ended up having this other finding outside of the concussion that I had a brain tumor. So the brain tumor placement was in the middle of my cortex, which was no bueno. And so any
Yeah.
growth whatsoever, I would have basically been unalived. And so I had to go and have it removed. When I went in to have it removed the day prior, they had me go do a scan. Unfortunately, they said they thought it was going to take 10 to 15 years. They said I had to take it out because, quite frankly, the growth would be minuscule, right? And so
Okay.
I had some time. But when I went in to go and get it done, they said, we don't know what happened, but what went from a small incision is now a full craniotomy because your tumor actually grew.
Mm.
We don't know, we don't know why, we don't know what triggered this, but the reality is this is where we're at. So I said, what does that mean? They said instead of a 3-inch incision, it's a full craniotomy. And instead of a couple hours of surgery, we're going to be in there between 6 to 8 hours.
Mm.
What? So fast forward, I wake up from this full craniotomy, 57 staples from ear to ear, partially paralyzed. My entire left side would not move.
Mm.
And so they shipped me off after a week in the ICU to learn how to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life because I was going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. And again, as I said to you before, in all the other challenges, right, that I have had and opportunities to know my resilience, I said, yeah, that's not happening. So, meaning when they sent me to rehab and they asked me, what do you want to do here? I looked at them like, what do you mean? What do I want to do here? Y'all want to
Simple
take me?
question, right?
I want walk.
Yeah,
Literally,
exactly.
walk. And they were like, oh, she's so cute. No, I told her. Oh, okay. Um, no, what do you want to work on while you're here in the chair? And I said, oh, these mofos, they just
Yeah.
know. Oh, okay.
My legs.
Yeah. I said, you know what? I said, dance out because my words were still limited at that time. Right. So I said, dance out. And they were like, oh, she's so cute. Well, let me tell you, regardless of whether you think it was cute or not cute, I knew the results that I wanted in my life. I knew what I was going to create. And that is exactly what I created. First here, right? Then here, and then all with all of my beingness, it was what I was 100% going to do was get out of that paralytic state and bed, and it is what I did. I danced out in 21 days.
Wow.
Out.
They had to be shocked, right?
They
This.
were absolutely shocked. Yeah, they were absolutely. Everyone lined the hallways. Everyone clapped. I
Oh,
have it
that's
all on
awesome.
video, by the way. And I
Yeah.
literally danced out to salsa. And yes, I'm considered the 1% medical miracle
Yeah.
that went from
Well,
wheelchair.
so you're touching on something that I truly believe.
Mhm.
Medicine obviously has evolved and changed over time. The one thing that I think maybe not in our lifetime, you're actually living proof that you can do it. The the way our mind helps us heal, right? the chemical releases in our brain by thinking certain things and certain thought processes, I think we're just scratching the surface on that. I think 100 years from now, medicine is going to look completely different than what it looks like today.
Oh, that is my 100% goal. The reality is to think is to create. So what are we creating? We are constantly creating things in our mind. So that means that I have a choice to create whatever it is that I want to see be true. So our
Yeah,
minds don't know what's true or what's not true. They only know what we put in our minds. So in my
100%.
mind,
Yep.
what I put in there was I'm walking. I actually went into walks in my head. I walked on Rodeo Drive because, I mean, if we're going to walk somewhere, why not walk
What?
somewhere pretty and
Hey, no
sparkly?
place better than that.
Exactly. But then I ended up, okay, where else do I want to walk? I'm a hiker. I love to walk in the mountains. So these are things that I did. I exercised the power of my mind every single morning. If I can do this, right? If I can go from wheelchair to dance floor in 21 days with, of course, there were several other things, right? The
Yep.
how, there's many more. Get the book for that. But just, I like that plug, right?
Nice plug. Love it.
Thank you very much. But if I can do that and go there, what can we not do in business, in life, relationally? Anything and everything is possible. But it all starts here. So what we think and what we're creating is absolutely pivotal to how the results that we want in our life to look like. What are the results in your life that you want? Create them and go
Yeah.
get them.
If you talk to successful people, like I'm talking uber successful people, and you ask them the question, do you ever think of failing? They're like, no. I mean, that's why there is a difference between uber successful people. And I don't just mean financially successful, whether it be music, art, whatever it is, the field that they're in, the uber successful people have this unwavering confidence in themselves, and they absolutely think positively 100% of the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Be
And
I
I think most of us, that self-doubt, right? You get up every day. Like I've been in sales my whole life. You can't help but get up in the morning. You have people calling you. You're worried about deals. You have pipeline call, and you get all this self-doubt in you, and it's self-defeating.
Well, here, I'm gonna do a little correction in that we can help it.
Yes.
We absolutely can't help it. We need to decide how we receive that input to put the output out. We get to decide how we respond to what life serves up to us, right? I don't
Yep.
have to flip out. I don't have to freak out. I can just look very curiously into what's happening in front of me and figure out what is the what is the goal and what is the positive side of all of that's coming at me. And I mean anything and everything.
Yeah.
Outside of the physical challenges, I've had a lot of emotional ones, a lot of challenges of victimization of not just myself but of my children. So when
Yeah.
I say these things, I say them with 100% gutso that trust and know there are people sitting in, jail at this moment that place themselves there because they were doing things that were not okay to, me or my
Yeah.
family. And again, I got to decide how I respond to that. Do I respond as a victim? No, I can respond that I was victimized, but I am not going to live in victimhood. That is a
Yeah.
choice. Same
Yes.
thing in business, right? You can be the pipeline may be like this and you need it to be like this and you're like, "Oh crud, what am I going to do? How am I going to versus what a flippin' amazing opportunity to show everyone that I can kick some booty. Let's
Yeah.
go."
There you go. Yeah, no, you raise a good point. So as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at that. When I was younger, I used to stress about everything, right? And it's not good for your health. You don't sleep well, you overeat, all these other things. And now, obviously, I've learned over the years, you control what you control, and you control your thought process. And that's really, you can control yourself. You can't control everyone else.
Absolutely. And you did mention something just a few minutes ago about how we wake up in the morning, right? So I really want to go back to that because that
Okay.
is so incredibly important. How we wake up in the morning, like those first thoughts in the morning, are incredibly important because that sets up the rest of your day. The moment that you wake up and you're like, oh, it's Monday. Well, guess what your Monday's going to be like? Oh, because we've all
Self-fulfilling, right?
absolutely. So when you wake up, because I've already trained my mind, my mind, my immediately my mind goes to gratitude. Gratitude. Thank you, Daddy, that I opened up my eyes today. When I say Daddy, for me, it's Daddy God. Thank you, Daddy, that I opened up my eyes today. Thank you that, oh, look at me. I got hands. Like, seriously, I got hands. Oh my gosh, I can see my eyes are working right now. Even if there is an ache in the body, because, we get to that certain age and we're like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
quickly, but it's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness that I could feel that, because you know what? There was a day when I couldn't feel anything on this entire left side. So thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Daddy, that I can feel. And then going into quickly, right? Not doing this whole, I'm not a person that will spend 2 hours in doing all this, because that's productivity time, right?
right.
I can just call things out quickly and then we can move on. So a good 15 minutes though is in gratitude and then in my expectation of the day, right? What is it that I'm wanting to do? So part of that was this, interview with you, that it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to, be here. And it doesn't matter if there's challenges or not challenges, but we're going to get through them. Totally fine. But you set all that stuff up, all the outcomes that you want in your day in those first 15 minutes, and watch how everything changes for you. But again, if you turn around and go, okay, it's Monday. Ah, damn, I got 10 meetings. I got 3 of them with these team members. I got one with that jackhole that I can't even. All of that energy,
Yeah,
again, to think is to create, right? Turns into exactly what you thought. And by the way, our little minds are these little narcissists in there that want to prove us right.
sure.
So if we wake up going, oh, this is going to be a jacked up day, our mind's like, oh, watch me create that for you. It sure is.
Yeah. No, man, that's such a great point about waking up in the morning. So I'm at a point in my life, I'm later in my career, and I don't have a lot of stress anymore. And I was joking with my wife recently. I said, I was so used to waking up stressed out that it feels funny to not have stress right now. Does that make sense? And part of it is my own mind. I should have done a better job when I was younger to kind of filter that stuff out and put it in perspective. But again, it feels good to wake up with no stress. I got to admit, you know.
Yes, no, and it's not to feel sad or bad for what you didn't do before. Actually, what that did for you now, again, right? It's getting curious about the good. And what you just said, you set yourself up for this kumbaya life right now. That's amazing. Thank the past you.
Yeah,
Thank the past you for doing what it needed to do to get you to be who you are today. Like,
yeah,
a round of applause for that. And by the way, you are landing on something else that's really important for folks to know. Like you just said, it feels a little weird. Like, what am I
yeah,
missing because I'm not stressed? Do you know that people actually can get addicted to trauma and stress? And then they create this in their life because it's familiar to them.
yeah.
And so what you're
Wow.
saying, yeah, what you're actually now demonstrating is I've become unattached from the addiction of stress. And it does feel a little weird
Yeah,
because I have decades of evidence in my life that this is what I was running off of, right? And now you're in your life, you're going, wait, there's some new evidence here, and it feels a little weird, but I'm kind of liking it.
yeah. Me too. I got to
Amen.
admit, I'm loving it. Waking up and you know, life is good, right? I mean, I don't give you all the details of my life, but my kids are all grown, they're all educated, financially we're in great shape, and it's like if I wanted to stress about something, I would have a hard time finding one, you know.
Oh, well, what a beautiful place to be. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness gracious. Yeah, and not everyone has that, right? I'm one of them that doesn't. I definitely have places and spaces in my life where if I chose to amplify all the negative that can come out of that, I'm going to tell you what my body will then choose to do is give me some more tumors. The toxicity is real,
yeah,
right? Because what you don't work out in a positive way for you, right? Your body will work out for you and it's not going to be very positive, quite frankly. But when you choose to find the goodness in those spaces, right? So for
yeah,
your listeners who are here, and if they're going, well, great for him, but that's not where I'm at, right?
yeah,
Which is, no, it is great for him. That's fantastic. By the way, this too shall pass, right? Because we're humans, right? Things will happen. Something will happen
sure,
inevitably to a family
100%.
member, a friend, whatever it is. But yes, soak in those moments when you're like, Zen, thank you, thank you, thank you. But even when, or I shouldn't say but, and when you're in the Zen, when something comes at you, you can then choose to look at that thing and say, what is the gift that I'm supposed to be learning from this, right? For me. Not me,
Right.
not for somebody else. That's their gift. But regardless of what it is that comes at us, negative or positive, there's a gift. And even in the negative, there is always something to learn, to ground yourself in for the next thing that's coming.
Yeah,
So for the listeners here,
yeah, great
lean in with
advice.
curiosity.
Well, you can only control really what you really have total control over your body and your thoughts if you really get down to its basic elements, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard an example once where if someone's holding a knife to your throat and you stress out about it, really nothing physically has changed for you, right? It's how you filter it in your brain. Obviously, it's a stressful situation, some of that, but really physically nothing changed. It's how you filter what you're seeing in front of you. And that's an extreme example. But I
Mhm.
think to your point about controlling our thoughts and how we go about our lives can have a big impact. I think all the negative chemicals that are released when you have stress and negativity do a number on your health.
Absolutely, they 100% do. I was living proof of that.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I was living a very, very stressful life. And when I say stressful, I want to say really define it more. There was a lot of toxicity in the people around me, right?
Yeah.
So there were some very non-healthy characters that I was living with. And so that took a toll on my body, right? Because I was always in survival, survival,
Yeah.
survival and was not able to express it and or get out of that situation at the moment. But my body was still my body and
Sure.
it was taking it all within it, right? And so all of these health issues started manifesting. Well, isn't it interesting when I finally took control of my own life in these last 5 years that what I used to take 67 pills to keep me alive, I take zero today. I am
Nice.
symptom-free in the best health of my life. Why? Because I now choose, right, how I respond and who I allow. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
I am in control of me.
Love it.
And so my health
Yeah.
has benefited from it.
So now we'll switch direction, switch angles here. How do you feel that everything you're going through in your life has helped you in your business endeavors?
Well, for me, it's helping others get to better results in their life, right? Either personally or professionally. Business is the same. I love representing them. I love representing them for their stakeholders. And it is always the finding the good, right? Finding the
Yeah,
good. Whatever the challenge is, you spin it not in an inauthentic way, but in a very real way. But here is the goodness that we found in this, right? And I learned that very early on, by the way, because in my career, I started working with, like I said before, unchampioned communities. Those were my gang members, right? So I started working with people on the streets of East Los Angeles and Compton, and
wow.
shout out to all my beautiful gang youth out there. But with them, now talk about having to switch things up for somebody, right? And they were constantly in and out of the jail system. They were doing a lot of things that they shouldn't have been doing. But I was able to look at it and go, okay, let's look at the skills that you have. And they're like, what kind of skills? This is what I do. I slang this, I do that. Da, da, da. And I was like, wow, look at that
Love
creative business development that y'all have. And then you all throw up shoes up on that wire and you shoot a BB gun if a cop is coming to tell the other guys on the other side of the street. Talk about creative business development. Like,
Yeah,
come on, y'all. So it's a paradigm shift of where they were at and what
yeah,
their thinking was, and shifting it to go, now imagine if you applied this type of creative thinking or this type of hustling or this type of, you all have discernment when you know that someone's running up a game on you, and you would use it in business. And so then I started giving them scenarios in that way. So I started that way back in my 20s, translated that in corporate America, right, to see, okay, these teams are not working well together. Why aren't the teams working well together? Why are the sales not closing? Why are they right? So it's getting curiouser and curiouser and go deeper and deeper. And the time, it was the human on the other side, right? It was
yeah,
something that was happening with them that was triggering them. A lot of folks think that they're going into business right now and you're having meetings with people who are all like in your 50s or 60s or 40s or 30s. You're actually having meetings with people who are 5 years old, 8 years old, and 12 years old.
sure.
All their unresolved issues are coming out in that boardroom in that meeting. I'm just letting y'all know.
Yeah. No, hey, as confident and as perfect as someone seems, we all have thoughts in our brains, right? We all have our issues.
Yes. And so getting curious about humans on the other end, again, translating that to how I work with people today, is I get curious about the person on the other side of me, right? So I got to figure out what my goal is. Is my goal to get a contract? Is my goal to inform the stakeholder? Is my goal to, inspire legislation in Washington, D.C., because I also do health advocacy and patient advocacy? What is the goal and who is this person in front of me? How are they responding to me so that I change, right, the way that I communicate with them to get the better result or the best results that I want in my outcome and my goal. It's about me. It's never about them in that way, right? It's about how I change me, how I move me, how I flow with me in business, right? By paying attention to them. So yes, it's about how I respond to them. So that's about me, but it's literally about taking notice of the person on the other side of you and seeing how do I best serve in this space to get the result that I want, right? And then making it a win-win for the both of us, because no one ever likes to walk away going, damn, I gave it all away.
Yeah, in any deal, if a person walks away from the table feeling like they lost, it's never good.
Correct.
It's got to be a mutual benefit for both.
Right. Right.
Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed this conversation. When's the book coming out, by the way?
Woo! Holding me to the wall. 6 months or less.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to have to read it.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, I'm very excited in the middle of writing it right now. And it has been wonderful to go back and see all the pillars of what it took to get, Wheelchair to Dance for in 21 days. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you.
Nice. Well, Ari, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and because I know you do public speak, we didn't touch on a lot of things here, but you do public speaking and brand ambassador and all these other things all these other talents that you have, how would they get in touch with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Ari Medrano. Go ahead and send me a beautiful DM there. My other social media is Instagram, but that is more just kind of sharing with you what I'm out there doing.
Sure.
But to really have communication with me and to get a hold of me for any speaking engagements or workshops or ambassadorship, please look me up on LinkedIn, Ari Medrano, or you can send me an email at ari@arimedrano.com.
Awesome. Well, on that note, we'll call it an episode here. Ari, thank you so much. I love your story. It's very inspiring, and I just love having folks like you on the show that can share their passion and their stories. And hopefully, the goal is if we can inspire a few people and change a few lives, what's better than that?
Amen to that. Absolutely. Because quite frankly, with faith, focus, action, commitment, anything and everything is possible. Come
Love
with
it. Love it. All right, Ari. Well, that's a wrap for today for another edition of the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. Paul Delegro signing off. Until next time.